The 2014 Atlanta Press Club Loudermilk Young Debate Series, brought to you from Georgia Public Broadcasting. The Democratic race for the 1st Congressional District.
Good evening. I'm Sonny Dixon, the anchor of the news at 4, 5, and 6 on WTOC TV, which is the CBS affiliate in Savannah, Georgia. We're glad to welcome you and our live studio audiences here to the Atlanta Press Club Loudermilk Young Debate Series, originating from the studios of Georgia Public Broadcasting in Atlanta. This debate is between the Democratic candidates in the runoff for Georgia's 1st Congressional District. And by the way, the 1st Congressional District is in southeastern Georgia. It comprises all of the coastal counties and others. Now let's meet the candidates. They are, in alphabetical order, Brian Reese. Brian is a UPS manager from Savannah. Mr. Reese declined to attend today. He is represented by an empty podium. And Amy Tavio, she's a realtor from Richmond Hill, Georgia. And now let's meet our panelists. Marcus Howard is the county government reporter for the Savannah Morning News. Next to him is Dave Cartoonan, morning anchor for WSAV Channel 3 in Savannah. And Sarah McCammon is the Savannah bureau chief for Georgia Public Broadcasting. This debate is going to consist of 3 rounds, and if you want to see more detailed information on the rules, you can visit atlantapressclub.org. Now, to begin, Amy Tavio will be asked one question by 2 of our panelists, and she will have 60 seconds to answer each question. We want to get started now. Dave Cartoonan, you get the first question to Amy Tavio.
Ms. Tavio, 9 months after the rollout of Obamacare, I would be interested to know what you feel the most effective provision is and what you think the least effective provision is that needs correcting.
Thank you for the question, Dave. 9 months after the rollout of Obamacare, without a doubt, the factors that deal with pre-existing conditions being covered, so that way people with chronic illnesses or lifetime conditions don't get dropped by their health insurance, is definitely probably the most important and the most effective part of the Affordable Care Act that has been launched effectively. My son is one of those children that actually falls under that pre-existing condition that I no longer have to worry about him losing his health care coverage. On the other hand, we do have some problems, particularly with how the Affordable Care Act interfaces with small businesses, as well as with our larger union organizations that already provide benefits for their employees and for their members. So there's definitely got to be some tweaking to be done for us to make it effective and work for everybody, but we are on the right path.
Thanks very much. Sarah McCammon, you get to ask the next question of Ms. Tavio.
And overall, how would you grade President Obama as a leader?
Overall, I would say, considering the level of discourse and anger that is playing out in D.C. right now, he is doing as good a job as could be expected given the situation of the context of the city and of politics as a state, overall right now. He has effectively gotten us out of Iraq and Afghanistan. Granted, we do have some conflicts still going on there with ISIS. He has made tremendous improvements to our economy. When he took office, we were definitely in a big black hole. As a realtor, I can certainly say that it's nice to see the housing market coming back. And he has certainly worked to rebuild our relationship around the world.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tavio. Now that concludes the first part of the program. Ms. Tavio will now ask one question of Brian Reese, of course, represented by an empty podium. She will have 30 seconds during which to ask the question and 30 seconds for a rebuttal. Amy Tavio, your question for Brian Reese.
Mr. Reese, as we are both well aware, this district tends to lean Republican and has been rated R+9. What is your plan of action, or do you have a strategy of how you're going to win crossover and independent votes to actually give us the opportunity to turn this seat blue?
Assuming an answer from the empty podium, your rebuttal.
One thing that I've certainly found, being a Democrat living in Bryan County, which is one of our more Republican counties in the district, is that you get to realize that you represent everybody that lives there, and that you get to reach out and work across the aisle and listen to opposing views and look for solutions that benefit and serve everybody in the 1st District and not just a specific group. And that's certainly how I would intend to move forward myself.
Thanks very much. If you are just joining us, maybe this most recent exchange you find bewildering. It is the debate between the two Democratic candidates in the runoff for Georgia's 1st Congressional District. Candidate Brian Reese of Savannah declined to participate and is represented by an empty podium. And we will now go to our third and final portion of this debate program. And in this round, each panelist will ask Amy Tavio questions, and we'll just continue until time runs out. Marcus Howard, you get the first question.
Ms. Tavio, your party has not been able to win the 1st Congressional District in the past 2 decades. Why do you believe that's so, and how will you be able to win over voters?
Well, one, we've had a very solid candidate in there that has served for 2 decades. It's very hard to unseat an incumbent once an incumbent gets in. Even when you look at, polls that show Congress has a, less than 15% approval rating, and we still re-elect incumbents at a 90% level. It's no doubt, it's very obvious why we couldn't unseat Jack Kingston over the past 20 years. However, we have had some demographic shifts in the district. People are certainly frustrated with the level of incivility and partisan divide. And I think that people are ready to send common sense, real working people to Congress that actually have lived and worked in the community, that have experienced some of the hardships that they're experiencing and are ready for something different.
Sarah McCammon, it is your turn to answer a question. Ask a question, excuse me. You can answer it if you want.
I'll leave that to Ms. Tavio.
All right.
There's a lot of talk about the accelerating rate of economic inequality in the United States. What can be done to elevate the plight of low-wage workers in the United States without, as is often the objection, hurting small businesses?
I'm a small business owner myself. Being a realtor, I'm self-employed. In addition to that, I do have a little retail shop in Richmond Hill. So I certainly understand how policies can affect small businesses, particularly that around wages and employment. There are 2 things that spur an economy, and one is unemployment rate, and the second thing is the consumer confidence and consumer spending. So one thing we get to look at is how can we increase wages for our working families in a way that we can offset with maybe some tax provisions and tax codes that actually offset that for small businesses, so that way they perhaps get a credit or a benefit that they can actually hire and grow. And by having increased revenue coming into the economy, that increases the opportunity for them to make sales and also perform better themselves.
Dave Cartoonan, now you may ask your question.
Ms. Tavio, the 1st District of Georgia encapsulates every branch of military service in our country. Traditionally, Democrats are on the side of reducing the size of military, as was the case with sequestration. How do you reconcile Democrats' historical views on the size of the military with the importance it has in this district?
I think that overall, as a country, Americans want to see a strong, robust, healthy military. They want to have us to be ready and prepared to be able to face any conflict that arises throughout the world and to protect us here at home. And the question is how do we do that in a way that is expeditious, that we actually provide the services and the resources that our men and women in uniform need when they are called into action, and to do it in a way that we spend those dollars the most wisely. As a Democrat, I think that that's where a lot of us stand is, we don't want to, tear apart our military. We want it to be strong, but we also want to make sure that we're properly allocating those resources. And one thing we need to look at right now is, are we taking care of the men and women that are getting out, that have been serving us over 14 years of engagement, making sure that they have the benefits that they signed up for and that they earned?
Thanks very much. And that actually wraps up all of the time that we have for questions in this slightly abbreviated discussion, but we are sure that everyone appreciates Ms. Tavio and her responses to these questions. But she's not done. We have time now for a 60-second closing statement.
Thank you. When I made the decision to jump into this race, it had a lot to do with the fact that I was very frustrated with the lack of civility, the hatred that has been playing out between our two-party system, where it really seemed like we were getting nothing done and people were more concerned with playing politics than they were with doing what was right for the American people at home. So I think that a lot of what happens is the powers that be would like to think that we're either all the way over to the left or all the way over to the right. And most of us that live in the 1st District probably hover somewhere around that middle. And depending on the issue we sit on one side or the other, And we could, as citizens, and we do it every time in our work environment and in our home life and our communities, work across that aisle and figure out common sense solutions that work for everybody and find that common ground to stand on. That's why I'm running, because I think that's what we need. We need people that know how to bridge the gap, that know how to negotiate, that know how to work together. And that's why I want to represent the people, all the people of the 1st District of Georgia. Thank you.
Amy Tavio, Democratic candidate for the 1st Congressional District. And that does conclude our debate. We want to remind all voters that this primary runoff will be held on Tuesday, the 22nd of July. Early voting is already underway, and perhaps some folks watching tonight have already voted. We want to extend our thanks to Amy Tavio of Richmond Hill, to our distinguished panel of journalists, and especially we'd like to thank the Atlanta Press Club for making the arrangements for this debate. If you want more information about the Atlanta Press Club and all of the debates they are hosting this event, this election season, quite frankly, there are many, many more of them even this evening. Visit atlantapressclub.org. The debate will be archived there. You can watch it again as much as you want. The debate will also be available on demand at gpb.org. And the Atlanta Press Club Loudermilk Young Debate Series is made possible by a general donation from R. Charles Loudermilk. Please stay with GPB for more great programming. I'm Sonny Dixon from Savannah, Georgia. Thank you for joining us for the Atlanta Press Club Loudermilk Young Debate Series.
This is a GPB original production.